Imagine holding a simple 1971 D. Kennedy half-dollar in your hand, a coin that most people would overlook as just another piece of pocket change. But what if I told you that this very coin could actually be worth an astounding $15 million in the collector's market, making it one of the most astonishing finds in numismatic history? And the story behind it is not only fascinating but also filled with secrets that most everyday people don't even realize. Because in 1971 the United States Mint transitioned away from silver and half-dollars, moving to a copper-nickel-clad composition, and yet within that transition, rare minting errors, unique die varieties, and extremely well-preserved conditions produced a small handful of coins that turned out to be life-changing treasures for those lucky enough to discover them. And what makes the 1971 D. Kennedy half-dollar so remarkable is the combination of its historical significance, scarcity of high-grade examples, and the possibility of rare errors like double dies, off-center strikes, and proof-like strikes that never should have left the Denver Mint. And when collectors spot these error coins or special strike varieties, they don't just pay a premium. They spark bidding wars that skyrocket values into the millions. Because owning one isn't just about money, it's about owning a piece of American history directly tied to John F. Kennedy, one of the most iconic presidents of all time, and that emotional and cultural connection elevates the coin's desirability even further. Now picture a scenario where a 1971 D. Kennedy half-dollar was discovered with near-perfect preservation, graded MS-68, or even higher by the top grading authorities like PCGS or NGC, a level so pristine that only a few coins in existence could ever match it. And suddenly you have a coin that's not only historically significant but also virtually one of a kind, and that's exactly the kind of situation that has led experts and collectors alike to place values as high as $15 million on these rarities, because in the high-stakes world of numismatics, rarity plus condition plus historical value equals astronomical worth, and people who stumble upon such coins in their old change jars, inherited collections, or flea market finds often don't realize what they're holding until they get it properly appraised. But by then it can already be too late, as sharp-eyed collectors and dealers move quickly to secure these hidden gems. And it's not just about the coin itself, it's about the story it tells. Minted in the early years after Kennedy's tragic assassination, representing a nation's grief and admiration, designed by Gilroy Roberts and Frank Gasparo, the obverse and reverse images of Kennedy and the presidential seal stand as symbols of resilience and respect, and all of that symbolism embedded in the coin makes it more than just a half-dollar. It's a piece of art and memory frozen in time. And when you add in the thrill of finding one with an ultra-rare error, like the transitional error where a few were accidentally struck on leftover silver planchets intended for earlier years, instantly making them unique survivors of a bygone minting process, the potential value skyrockets into unimaginable territory, because errors like that are the holy grail for collectors, the kind of discoveries that change lives overnight. And imagine being someone who thought you just had 50 cents and instead you're sitting on $15 million. That's the kind of story that goes viral across the world, capturing the attention of both seasoned coin hunters and curious newcomers who suddenly realize that the change in their drawers could actually be life-changing. And this is why experts always advise never to dismiss an old coin without checking mint marks, dates, and condition, because the tiniest detail can mean the difference between 50 cents and financial freedom. And with the 1971 D. Kennedy half-dollar, we see a perfect example of how a coin can transcend its face value and become a symbol of luck, rarity, and wealth. And if you're wondering whether your own Kennedy half-dollar might be special, pay close attention to whether it has sharp details, unusual coloration, mirrored fields like a proof, or any doubling in the lettering or date, because those little quirks can mean everything in the collector market. And there are countless stories of ordinary people sending their coins for grading and coming back shocked when they learn the astronomical figures attached to their once ordinary-looking half-dollar. And just think about it, in a world where people spend fortunes on art, sports memorabilia, and luxury items, why wouldn't a coin with both historic and cultural weight, combined with genuine rarity, command a price tag of $15 million? And that's why the 1971 D. Kennedy half-dollar continues to excite collectors, inspire treasure hunters, and make headlines whenever one surfaces in an auction, so don't ignore your change. Don't dismiss those coins sitting in drawers or jars, because your fortune might just be hiding in plain sight, and who knows, maybe you'll be the next person to discover a coin worth millions. So if you enjoyed this deep dive into the hidden treasures of American coinage and want to keep learning about the rarest, most valuable coins that could be hiding right under your nose, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the chance to uncover life-changing treasures that could be waiting for you. And as we continue this journey into the fascinating world of the 1971 D. Kennedy half-dollar, think about how extraordinary it is that something as small and common as a coin could carry so much weight in terms of history, emotion, and financial worth. Because every Kennedy half-dollar minted in that year carries with it the legacy of the late President John F. Kennedy, a man whose life and death left an indelible mark on the United States and the world, and the Denver Mint, responsible for striking the D mint-marked coins, produced millions in 1971, yet only a handful stand out due to their unique qualities, and it is these few survivors that transform from everyday change into multi-million-dollar treasures. And within numismatics, this coin is legendary because it represents both a transition in U.S. coinage and the beginning of a new era in half-dollars, shifting from silver to a copper-nickel composition. And although that change was intended to make the coin less expensive for the government to produce, the accidental survival of error strikes, transitional planchets, and highly preserved examples made the 1971 D half-dollar more valuable than anyone at the mint could have imagined. And when a coin combines error rarity with pristine condition and historical importance, collectors know they are looking at something priceless, and that's why auctions featuring these coins are electrifying events, with wealthy collectors, museums, and private investors all vying to own what many call the holy grail of modern U.S. coinage. And to put it into perspective, while some coins in average circulated condition may only bring 50 cents or a couple of dollars, the extremely rare top-graded or error-struck 1971 D. Kennedy half-dollar has broken records. And experts predict it could continue to climb in value as time goes on, especially since more collectors from around the globe are joining the hunt for U.S. coinage treasures, and the demand will only rise as supply stays locked at an ultra-limited number. And the fascinating thing is that most people still don't realize just how valuable these coins can be, meaning countless treasures are likely still sitting unnoticed in jars, dressers, and collections, and when they finally surface, stories emerge of ordinary people becoming millionaires overnight, fueling the dream for others to check their coins more carefully. And it is these human stories that make the 1971 D. Kennedy half-dollar more than just a collectible, because behind every coin that sells for millions there's an individual, a family, or even a small-town collector whose life changes forever, all because of a single overlooked half-dollar, and that magical possibility makes this story endlessly captivating. And as long as people continue to search, grade, and discover these coins, the legend of the 1971 D. Kennedy half-dollar will only grow, cementing its place not just in the annals of numismatics, but also in the imagination of everyone who dreams of turning spare change into a life-changing fortune. So always remember to keep your eyes open, study your coins, and don't underestimate the power of a little half-dollar, because the next $15 million treasure could be resting quietly in your pocket right now, waiting for the right moment to change your destiny forever. And if you want to keep uncovering these mind-blowing coin stories and secrets that could help you spot hidden treasures, make sure you like this video, subscribe, and share it with others who might have fortune hiding in plain sight. What if I told you that the 1972 D. Kennedy half-dollar, a coin most people think is just another 50 cents rattling around in change jars or tucked into an old drawer, could actually be worth an eye-watering $13 million, turning an ordinary day into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery? Because behind this coin lies a story of rarity, history, errors, and collector obsession that has made it one of the most talked-about treasures in numismatic circles. And when we talk about the Kennedy half-dollar, we're talking about a coin that was born from one of the most emotional moments in American history, the tragic assassination of President John F. Kennedy in 1963, and the coin was introduced in 1964 as a tribute to his legacy, designed with his portrait by Gilroy Roberts on the obverse and Frank Isparo's presidential seal on the reverse. And it instantly became a piece of history that Americans wanted to hold on to, not just for its monetary value but for what it represented. And by 1972, the Mint was producing copper nickel-clad half-dollars instead of silver, with the Denver Mint striking millions of coins marked with a small D under Kennedy's bust. But what most people don't realize is that among those millions, a few extraordinary examples emerged, coins with rare errors, unusual planchet strikes, proof-like finishes, or conditions so immaculate that they became numismatic legends. And those special 1972 D. Kennedy half-dollars are the ones that today can command multi-million dollar price tags, with the finest known examples reaching as high as $13 million in valuation. And you might ask why such a coin would be worth that much, and the answer lies in three powerful factors that drive the coin market: rarity, condition, and historical significance. Because while most 1972 D. Kennedy half-dollars are common and circulate for pocket change, a select handful exist in high mint state grades like MS-67 or MS-68, and these coins are practically flawless under magnification. With mirror-like luster, sharp strikes, and no distracting marks, making them almost like works of art. And when a coin achieves that level of perfection in a year and mint where perfection was nearly impossible, it becomes a once-in-a-generation discovery that collectors are willing to pay anything to own, and then add in the possibility of errors. Doubled die obverse coins where the date or letters are doubled. Off-center strikes where the design is misaligned, transitional errors where leftover silver planchets were accidentally used, or proof-like strikes that were never meant for circulation, and suddenly you have a coin that is not only rare but also unique, meaning no other coin in the world is exactly like it, and uniqueness is the most powerful driver of all when it comes to numismatic value. And beyond the technical aspects, we cannot ignore the emotional pull of the Kennedy half-dollar. Because it's not just a coin, it's a memorial, a piece of history that carries the face of a president whose life and ideals inspired millions. And this cultural and emotional connection elevates the coin's desirability, because collectors and investors aren't just buying metal, they're buying history, memory, and symbolism. And that's why when one of these ultra-rare 1972 D. Kennedy half-dollars comes up at auction, the bidding war is fierce, with millionaires and institutions battling it out for ownership, driving prices to levels that seem almost unbelievable, and stories of people finding these coins in old collections or inherited boxes are what fuel the dream that anyone could stumble upon life-changing wealth hidden in plain sight. Because imagine thinking you have just 50 cents and realizing it's worth $13 million. That's the kind of story that goes viral across the world and inspires others to start checking their own coins. And the truth is that these treasures are out there, tucked away in jars, albums, or estates, waiting to be discovered by someone sharp enough to recognize their potential. And this is why experts always say never dismiss a coin without checking its date, mint mark, condition, and strike, because the smallest detail, a doubled letter, a slight misalignment, an unusual shine, can be the key to unlocking a fortune. And as time goes on, coins like the 1972 D. Kennedy half-dollar will only become more valuable. Because demand for rare coins is growing worldwide while supply is forever fixed, meaning that the coins already in existence are the only ones we will ever have, and the competition to own them will only get fiercer. And that's why even today, collectors are willing to spend fortunes, knowing that coins like this represent not only incredible wealth but also an enduring piece of America's story. And if you are sitting there wondering whether you might have one of these coins in your possession, now is the time to look closely, examine carefully, and perhaps even have your coins graded by trusted services like PCGS or NGC, because one overlooked detail could transform your life forever. And the magic of it all is that these discoveries are not reserved for experts or insiders, they happen to ordinary people all the time, people who inherit a small collection, or go through an old coin jar, or even receive change at a store. And suddenly their lives are changed by a half-dollar they never expected would be worth more than a mansion. And that is why the 1972 D. Kennedy half-dollar stands as one of the most thrilling coins in U.S. history, proof that fortune can be hiding in plain sight, disguised as spare change, waiting for someone to recognize its true value. So don't ignore your coins, don't underestimate the potential sitting in your drawers or jars, because the next $13 million treasure might be right there. And if you enjoyed this incredible story about how a single coin can change lives, make sure you like this video. Subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another chance to uncover the hidden fortunes that could be waiting just for you. And the deeper you dive into the story of the 1972 D. Kennedy half-dollar, the more astonishing it becomes. Because while the vast majority of coins minted at the Denver facility that year were intended for everyday circulation and handled roughly through banking systems and public use, a tiny handful somehow escaped with extraordinary qualities, coins that retained sharp strikes, perfect surfaces, and near-proof-like luster, making them unlike anything the average collector would expect to find from a business strike coin of the early 1970s. And it is these extraordinary survivors that today command the staggering price of $13 million. Because in the world of numismatics, rarity is everything, and when rarity combines with perfection and history, the value multiplies beyond comprehension. And think about it for a moment: every nick, scratch, or bag mark on a coin lowers its grade, so when a 1972 D half-dollar exists without any flaws visible under magnification, it's like discovering a diamond in a mountain of pebbles, and grading services like PCGS and NGC play a huge role here. Because once a coin is slabbed with a grade like MS67 or MS68, collectors immediately know they are dealing with something extraordinary, and the price shoots upward accordingly. But what pushes the value even further are the rare minting mistakes, because the Denver Mint, despite its precision, occasionally produced coins with striking anomalies, such as doubled dies where the lettering and numbers appear doubled, off-center strikes where parts of the design are missing, or transitional errors where the coin was accidentally struck on a silver planchet left over from earlier years. And these mistakes weren't meant to leave the mint at all, but when they did, they turned into priceless treasures for the lucky few who stumbled upon them. And imagine the excitement of finding a 1972 D. Kennedy half-dollar with such an error, because not only would it be rare, but in combination with high grade it would be utterly unique, and uniqueness is what makes collectors open their wallets wider than ever before, because in auctions it's not uncommon to see bidders fight over owning a coin that no one else in the world has, and that emotional connection to owning the only one drives the prices into the millions. And then there's the symbolic aspect, because John F. Kennedy remains one of the most beloved and iconic figures in American history, and coins bearing his image hold more than monetary value, they hold sentimental and patriotic value too, turning them into highly sought-after pieces not only in the United States but across the globe. And in the 1970s, when silver was being phased out, the Kennedy half-dollar stood as a reminder of changing times, connecting Americans to the memory of a president gone too soon. And when you hold one of these coins, especially a rare gem like the 1972 D, you're not just holding metal, you're holding a tangible link to history, and that is priceless in itself. So when people ask why this coin is valued at $13 million, the answer is layered. It's about rarity, condition, historical importance, collector demand, and emotional power, all converging in a way that makes a single 50-cent piece worth more than a mansion or luxury car. And the incredible part is that ordinary people still find these coins by accident, pulling them from inherited collections, estate sales, garage sales, or even old rolls of half-dollars at the bank, and suddenly their lives are transformed overnight, turning curiosity into fortune.